So I think the question you have to ask yourself after the Brazilian Grand Prix is it over? Because it sure feels like it might be. Max Verstappen, world champion, just not officially mathematically confirmed yet. Tim Rainey, what do we think?
Buddy, that's a fully loaded question. It was a masterclass by Verstappen. Like, I know that's what everybody's saying, and that's like the hot word of the day. But honestly, man, that is the best Grand Prix I have ever seen him drive, ever. Full stop. Yeah. He was perfect when he needed to be, under the most amount of pressure that you could be under, Adam. I think
that's the most pressure since Lewis Hamilton and him in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, I would say so, for sure. It was a ton, right? Because if, Lando had him on his, had him down and out this weekend.
Yeah.
The way the starting race on went. Pole. Yeah. The other guy's starting P17.
Yeah.
Adam, it should have been Lando coming away with all the points. It should have been Max suffering a big defeat. Not in the best car. Not in the best circumstances, conditions, everything against him. And he was just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely. And you sometimes you got to tip your hat. You got to tip your hat to greatness. And here's where, for me, the weekend could have really gone Lando's way, but it went Max's way. And when you look at this, I look at the podiums. For the top three drivers, it's 13 podiums Max, 12 podiums Lando, 11 for Charles Leclerc. That's great. That's great. But Charles Leclerc has 3 wins. Lando Norris has 3 wins. Max has 8. And that could have been a lot closer, right? It could have been 4 and 7 had Lando managed everything better out of the first corner. Obviously, there were a lot of track conditions today. It made for an insane qualifying this morning. It made for an insane race. We lost 5 cars between qualifying and the end of the race, which is pretty rare. Unless there's a team like Haas that are just not trying and their engines blow up and they're terrible. That used to happen a little bit more. But to be honest, Tim, world champion means wins the most. And Max has won the most, and it's not even close now. And it doesn't look like it can be. So that's why I asked the question. And again, I say this as a McLaren fan to my bones. It's got to be over, right?
I'm not going to say that it's over, Adam, because I think anything is possible, especially in motorsports.
Right.
They're going to Vegas. I really don't know how good Red Bull's going to be there. Granted, I don't know how good McLaren's going to be there. I have a feeling Ferrari's going to be really good in Las Vegas, but who's to say, Max has an incident, crashes out, Lando somehow scores 25 points, plus fastest lap, 26 points. We're talking a totally different ball game with, 2 races remaining after Vegas. So
that's what it has to be, though. And Max doesn't do that, Tim. He hasn't crashed out in a really, really long, crashed out, not engine failure, crashed out.
I would say Mexico is probably, he crashed out in Austria.
Right.
Essentially.
But here's the thing. Lando didn't continue racing. Max did.
Yeah, Max did. I would say Mexico almost crashed out.
Okay.
I was there, man. That was legit. Yeah. So outside of that, though, man, you're right. I mean, Max has been incredible. Max has been incredible in poor machinery. The RB20, not a good car this year. Did they start off well? Yeah. Did they go the wrong way with development? Absolutely. Were they able to bring it back? No. Was Max in the fastest car on Sunday in Brazil? No, he wasn't. He made it the fastest. He made the difference. He's been the difference maker. I would say over the last 5-6 months, he's been the difference maker because the car has been not good. It has no business winning a Grand Prix right now. None. Really doesn't. And the fact that he was able to send one down the inside of Esteban Ocon into turn 1 on a rainy track in Brazil where there's aquaplaning, there's water running down the hill, make it stick, and then go on to set fastest lap, fastest lap, fastest lap, fastest lap, fastest lap. It's like I said on SportsCenter, it was clinical.
Yeah.
He was like a surgeon.
Yeah.
It was just, he got the scalpel out and he went to work. And it was beautiful. It was incredible to watch. It's something that we may never get to see something like that for a really long time, Adam. So I hope people really appreciated what they saw from this guy today. I know like Norris fans who are like really hardcore are not going to really appreciate what we saw. And look, I get it, but you saw perfection today.
And that's the thing about greatness. We talked about this last year a little bit. When Max was winning all those races and people got bored, and I get that. I get why people were bored. You forget that greatness, true like greatness, dominance is boring. It's boring. It's boring to get there for the athlete. It's a lot of stuff that they don't want. It's boring food. It's boring days training. It's boring days at the gym. Listen, does anyone love going to the gym? Yeah, I know some people love it, but like, is repeating the same exercise several times in a row the most mentally stimulating thing on the planet? No, it's not. Imagine sitting in a sim hour after hour after hour. Imagine doing all the things that Max does. And by the way, Max loves the boring stuff so much he goes home and plays video games about it. Yeah. So that's like me, like literally going home and making a video game about podcasting and then trying to start a podcast on my video game. Like, it's insane. It's crazy, Tim. And that's what Max is. Fernando's like that. Lewis is like that. Like, Fernando's the kind of guy, right, who like takes a holiday so he can go karting.
Yes.
But that is the kind of
they're addicted.
Addicted and dominant, beautiful, amazing. That, whether you're a fan of Max or not, if you cannot appreciate greatness in driving, I understand if you need to sleep on it. Like, if you're a McLaren fan, like, that hurt. That hurt today. It sucks.
Yeah.
But that is greatness. That's what that looks like. That's who this is. And you look at his partner, Sergio, didn't even finish in the points. No. And like, not going to be back next year. Let's stop asking the question. Yeah. He's not going to be there.
I doubt
this
it.
This is a world-class driver doing world-class things. And if Lando Norris ever wanted to win the championship, you can't do it winning 3 races. You can't do it winning 3 races out of 21. You can't. Now there's 3 more to go.
I mean, Adam, it was a championship drive. Let's just be honest. It was.
That's a world champion, man.
That's what we saw. Max has killer instinct, blood in the water. He did what he had to do. Game over.
Yep.
Like, he is ruthless.
Yep.
This guy will do whatever he's got to do to win and to win championships, and I respect it. Like, he was friggin' awesome today. Yep. Like, awesome. Look, I'm not a fan of these guys. I'm not. I'm a fan of good racing. I'm a fan of watching somebody do something incredible. I'm a fan of what we saw today because that's what that was. He just, there's not enough great things I could say about Max at this point. I think Red Bull Racing, honestly, Adam, having trust in Max in the first stint, when it got down to, we saw George Russell pit, we saw Lando coming in, and then I was just like, you know what, Max is probably going to come in. Mm-hmm. And I had his onboard camera on, and I'm like, yeah, he's probably going to come in now. And sure enough, the team was just like, look, we're going to leave you out. Please be careful. We trust you, but like, do what you got to do. Don't crash the car. And he's like, okay, got it. Tires that were absolute crap, intermediates that were toast, weather conditions that were worsening, and then you had a safety car come out, and then Colapinto crashed. That's Red Bull rolling the dice and believing in their driver.
Yes.
And just giving it over to their driver, saying, like, get it, bring this home. Like, this is what we're paying you for. You go and do that. You look at Mercedes. What did they do with George Russell?
What did they do, Tim?
They brought him in. They pitted him. Like, he shouldn't even been coming in. He even said over the radio, like, what the hell are we doing? Paraphrasing. But he was like, look, like, I told you we shouldn't have come in. We shouldn't have done that. Threw away a win.
Mm-hmm.
It did. George Russell threw away a win today. I wouldn't say George Russell. I would say Mercedes threw away a win
Because why, though, Tim?
They pitted him way too early.
No, but why did they pit him, though?
Well, I mean, they thought that it was the best form of action for strategy.
See, to me, it comes down to trust, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly. Like, tires are going off. Weather's going to start to get worse. They knew it was coming in. But you got to believe in your driver.
Yes. And Red Bull, to Max's credit, has been given every reason this season to believe in Max.
Yeah.
How could you not?
Exactly.
How could you not? And again,
exactly.
Max haters unite. Listen, I don't always love what Max Verstappen does on the track, but you see what Red Bull is willing to do to support their driver on that, right?
Yeah.
Red Bull's brutal to drivers that don't perform, but when you do perform, they're all the way behind you. Yeah. And that showed. And here's the other thing, Tim. We talked about this a little bit earlier this year. I think, that McLaren are learning how to be a championship team, and in order to do that, you got to lose a little.
I agree.
You got to make mistakes, right? Red Bull won those 4 championships, but we don't talk about pre-Sebastian Vettel, Mark Webber years when it's, David Coulthard and Mark Webber, and the team's not that good, and they're developing. It took them a while to get there, right? Mm-hmm. McLaren are not there yet. And Lando's not there yet. And it doesn't. What's interesting about the online dialogue, it's so reactive, right? It's like, well, Lando lost, so he's somehow bad. Lando's never finished in second place before. Lando has plenty of room to improve and go and train harder, and so do McLaren. McLaren now know how to make a great car. They now know what it's like to lose a championship, which Max did several times before he won. Mm-hmm. And I look at this as, okay, give the man his flowers when the season's over. Obviously, don't you race your balls off for the next 3, right? Have some fun in Vegas, kick some ass, shoot off some fireworks, and try to win those races, right? You get to the Middle East, you get back to the Middle East, you get to Abu Dhabi. Your car should be pretty good. Car should be excellent. Yep. You want to make this interesting.
Abu Dhabi, yep.
Qatar, yeah. But I'm saying, Tim, that if McLaren want to get to the stage where they trust Lando and Oscar the same way they trust Max, then Lando and Oscar need to show them that they can. Yep. And I don't fault McLaren. I don't fault Mercedes for not trusting George today. I don't fault McLaren for how they've handled things to this point because they've never been here before. But I'll say this. You can't make these mistakes again. Next year, there's no messing around. Whichever driver gets out to the lead, then there's team orders, and you go.
Yep, 100%.
You can't. We're now seeing the margin, right, Tim? The margin's this slim.
Yeah,
it's a safety car. It's rain. It's whatever else. You have the chance to get the points. You get the points. End of story. Period. Mm-hmm. And I think with Mercedes specifically, as we move to them, I got to move off McLaren for a second here. With George, they've got to be looking at that going, okay, George has had, and let's be honest, Tim, he has had a rough couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been pretty bad.
Been out some crashes. Not great.
It's been bad.
So you can't really fault them, I don't think, Tim. And again, I it'd be nice to have Gavin Ward on today because I'd love to get his unvarnished thoughts on, if we could get Gavin Ward without the McLaren tag, just Gavin's being Gavin. I'd love to know how Gavin gets to trust drivers versus not, right? Because Gavin is the Aero McLaren team principal. He's on the show every once in a while. I'd love to know what Gavin would have to say about this because for a team to trust the driver the way that Red Bull trusted Max, you can't have 3 weeks of George Russell leading up to today, right?
Yeah. I would say, Adam, if Gavin was on, he'd probably say the same.
Truth serum, Gavin.
Probably say the same things I'm saying. Like you got to believe in your drivers. You have to give them confidence. You have to allow them to believe in themselves.
Yeah.
And you have to trust them. I mean, so they're the ones who are in the car. They're piloting, your $1 million machine around the racetrack. Mm-hmm. And if you can't stand behind your driver, then what the hell are you doing?
Yep.
Like, why even bother having that driver in the car? Just get somebody else. Like, at the end of the day, I think Lando Norris is a championship level driver. I think George Russell is a championship level driver.
Yep.
These teams believe that too.
Yep.
They do, right? The thing is that when we look at McLaren, and I think, Adam, you said it really well, where it's just learning how to win again first. And you can just tell, and, you know, when I sit in on the press conference interviews, when I sit in on the post-race interviews, just listening, like, you can tell that, like, they are still learning, and they are still learning how to win. But you can also tell that the focus, it seems, is like it's always been the constructors this year. Always. It's always kind of seemed like that. Always had that feeling. I mean, and I think no better place told us that than Hungary. When instead of letting Lando Norris just walk away with it, they gave it to Oscar.
Yes.
And I think that right there told us straight up, like, we're focused on constructors and never really had that belief that a driver's title could be within reach. I don't know if they really believed it. I think Lando really believed it. I think there were instances where if a couple things had have swung Norris's way, then maybe this championship is a lot closer. And I think also on top of that, I think Lando learned a lot about racing someone in Formula One who is as ruthless as Max is for a driver's title, and the next level he needs to go to.
Yep.
I think that's a huge thing for him to learn. And when we get into next season, it's going to be like, this is going to be a close championship. Next season is just going to be super close. And I think what he has learned from this season needs to carry it over into next, needs to improve on that.
Yep.
And needs to bring a bit of that badass sort of little bit of, you know, FU and sprinkled in there. Like,
yes,
I think that needs to exist. Like, he should be like rubbing elbows with Max more, or other drivers, and if he needs to get a little more aggressive and maybe bump wheels or like, oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. Got to do it, man. Like, that's what you got to do. You are at the level where these guys don't give a, like, they don't care who you are. They do not care, Adam. Like, they don't. You know how difficult it is for a driver to win a Formula One championship. Just one. In their career, in their whole career. So you know, Adam, like, the levels these guys will go to win one.
Yep.
Max could have 4 by the end of Vegas. Could. It's not over. It's not. But, I mean, this was a huge learning experience, I think, for McLaren, for Lando. I think today in the race on the restarts, they definitely got away from Norris, right? Like, they weren't good. Like, those were not good, clean restarts. Part of it, you know, hearing from McLaren is that they felt that they didn't give Lando or Oscar a good enough car for this race. They felt that...
I think that's pretty clear. I don't think they did.
I don't think they did either. They did admit that they were suffering from wheel locking. So I think some of that has to do with brake migration. Okay. And how it migrates through the car. But some of that affecting Lando on those restarts. And that's why, like, we saw Lando sort of lock up and go off, like, twice, right? And losing a spot. Losing another spot. And so for Andrea Stella, like, he kind of has to take all this stuff away and basically break it all down and be like, how can we be better here? How can we be better here? How can we be better here? And that's what he does. He goes back and he looks at the weaknesses and where they effed up and, like, how do we fix this? How do we fix that? How do we make that better? I got respect for that because it's going to help them in the long run. It will. But I just felt, Adam, that there were points in this season where I think they should have believed in their driver just a little more. Yeah,
I agree. And a lesson learned. And, you know, here's the thing, Tim, is as soon as next season starts, and we can't get there yet, it's too early, let's jump ball at McLaren. Whoever gets off to the hot start.
Oh, Adam, like
the way Oscar performed this summer,
man. And not only just like look. Next season, do you think Oscar's like moving over anytime?
No.
Like maybe if he's well off of the championship, he would. Mm-hmm. But do you see him at any point in the first whatever, like 10 races?
10 races? No.
What do you think Mark Webber's doing behind the scenes, by the way? Like,
oh, yeah. Yeah. Do you think Mark Webber's thrilled about this?
You're going to, like, if you're McLaren, you got to deal with that now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mark's known for being intense. There's a reason.
You have to deal with that now,
right? Right?
You got to deal with it, man. You're going to have to deal with that. Like, Webber is going to be all over them. Like, I would just I would love to just see what happens behind the scenes there and like how all that all plays out, because you know that Oscar is the type of driver who's going to learn from this season. You know he's coming back stronger.
Mm-hmm.
You know it, Adam.
Well, look at the progression season 1 to season 2.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Helps to have a good car, but it's amazing.
He's awesome, man. Like I think part of me feels like he could be the future, you know?
Well, and this is, Tim, what I was wondering. You know, I think we may have mentioned it earlier this season, but we were talking about them. It's like, is this Lando's shot because it might be Oscar's next year?
We talked about that.
So, like, and listen, this could be the Lando Norris origin story. This is where he gets kicked, where he comes close and goes, oh, my God. And I think sometimes when you're scaling the mountain, going from 20 to 10 is hard. Going from 10 to 5 is hard. Going from 5 to 4 is hard. And it gets incrementally harder from there. 2 to 1. Mm-hmm. Getting from second place to first place is so unbelievably hard. Just ask Charles Leclerc, who's finished second place, and Lewis Hamilton, who finished second place a few years ago. And, you know, those and Lewis, after winning for so long too, that next step, man, it's just so much more. Yeah. Especially when you're staring at a guy like Max Verstappen, and hey, let's not forget Lewis Hamilton's driving a Ferrari next year. So there could be the return of him too, right? Like this is how crazy this is going to get. We're loading up talent. Now, there are some other great stories from today's race other than Max and Lando. And I think we got to start with the two Alpines. We talked about this on, I think, Friday. We're talking about some of the races or whatever. And it's hilarious. Go back and quote me. But I'm like, oh, Williams are definitely, they're going to try to catch Alpine. No, they're not. Not anymore. They're not. Tim, as of right now, I believe the standings are as follows. If I'm not mistaken, Alpine is at 49, Haas at 46, and RB at 44 points with 3 races to go. Tens of millions of dollars of prize money on the line here. That's crazy.
Alpine's gone and done it, Adam. They've gone and done it. Just totally redeemed themselves.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. Let's not push it. But I mean, listen, Tim. I think if you're asking for a 20 or 30 point swing any weekend, awesome. Pretty good one.
Yeah, really good, Adam. I mean, I think.
And what led to it? Why are they there?
You know what? I think their car actually is really good in the wet. I mean, watching what they've done with that car in the wet in previous instances this season, I mean, it's been pretty good. It's just like in the dry, they really struggle, and I just don't think the car has enough downforce on it to begin with. And then I think it also comes down with like both drivers just putting in incredible performances. Like both of them were really excellent today, like on Sunday. They were fantastic. I don't think enough can be said about the job that Ocon and Gasly did. I mean, Ocon couldn't even believe that they got a podium at the end of this. Like he was like beside himself. Literally was just like, I don't know how we're here. He's like, but it's great. Good strategy. Again, roll the dice, right? The team just being like, yeah, Esteban, you got this. We're just going to leave you out. Don't crash the car, but we believe you. We believe in you. Just go and do your thing. And they just let him run with it. I thought on the restart, I guess it would have been the first one after the red flag, when Ocon, he just checked out, man. He had opened up like whatever it was, a 3 or 4 second gap. And I was like, holy hell, like he is flying. And I think clean air was just really important today too. Just because of the visuals, like how much spray there was, how difficult it was to see everything, and then trying to keep the tire as cool as you could when you could. I mean, that was important as well. But he was that not just him, but they both were just really locked in. Mm-hmm. I think Oliver Oakes has got that team firing on all cylinders right now. I think he's come in, he's done a really nice job. And granted, he's new, right? And he's still got a lot to do. He still has a lot to learn as a team principal, but I think he's got them motivated, which is something that they've really been lacking, I think, behind the scenes. Not motivated to win, but just motivated to be a team, really. Yeah. I think he's done a nice job there, man. Like, I really do. And now, I'm not saying that Oliver Oakes is the reason why they got podiums today. I'm just simply stating that from the things I've heard, he's done a really nice job there so far. I'm really happy for them, Adam. This is really great. And like we've talked about, look, I loved I loved Renault back in the day.
Yeah.
05, 06, those are my cars.
The blue, the powder blue.
Blue, yellow.
Great look.
Yeah, and you know what? Gave them a lot of stick this season, especially when we found out that they're going to pull the plug on their whole engine operation, which I still feel is a joke. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm really happy for this team. They deserve this. Work their asses off. Both drivers worked their asses off and didn't put a foot wrong at all throughout the entire race. Yeah, I don't know what you saw it there, Adam, but for me, I just thought they were great all across the board.
Well, I see a team seeing the results of coming together. And, it is interesting because this team's taken some hits this year. First off, the car's been bad. They had a really encouraging finish a couple years ago and then just have been sliding and sliding and sliding. And, the whole point of being in the engine program is selling your engine to other manufacturers. Yeah. And they lost all their clients because their engines weren't good enough. Mm-hmm. And when they probably did a diagnostic internally and said, okay, how much is this costing us? What are the chances that we got another engine manufacturer coming into the sport? What are the chances we're ever going to sell one? Oh, 0? Oh, okay. So let's go buy one. It's cheaper. That's what a corporation does, right? And that sucks, Tim. I agree with you. That really sucks. I love individuality in this sport because that's what makes it so fun. The engineering quirks, and the engines, everything. Yeah. And if you get a power unit that's just more dominant than everybody else's, then those teams tend to win, right? Like Mercedes had for so long. Now, with Alpine, we have to remember also that these two drivers hate each other and have always hated each other since they were little kids, right? This is something goes way further back and way deeper, and they can talk about how much they respect each other and maybe they don't like each other, maybe they'll never be best friends, whatever. These guys do not like each other. And at Monaco, Esteban Ocon took a very risky gamble at a time where he really didn't need to, and he slammed right into, could have been any other car of the track, slammed right into Pierre Gasly. And it was that moment, he was called upstairs at that point, and I believe it was Bruno Famin was still running the team at that point. Bruno Famin said, "You're done." And after the race, it was announced, he's not coming back. Yeah. And Esteban's a great driver.
Oh, yeah.
So for you to say, yeah, we're not even going to offer you a contract, you got to be done, right? And so what hasn't happened, Tim, since then is any drama between the two, at least not publicly. Can you remember a single story about the two of them since?
No, not at all. And I thought today at the end of the race, the two of them congratulated each other. They were both extremely nice to one another. They were proud of each other. I mean, even in the press conference, they were just talking about what a great job one another had done in the race. And, usually when drivers don't get along, that stuff doesn't really happen, even when there is success. Like, i.e., I mean, Hamilton Rosberg, right? The good example. Prost Senna, I mean, those types of deals. But obviously, these guys aren't fighting for a championship. But at the end of the day, I mean, they're still rivals on the track. But I really liked what I saw from both of them today, even at the end of the race, just very mature. celebrated each other, which, I feel that they should. This is a team that's been through a hell of a lot in the last like 6-7 months, and they deserve this. And they celebrated properly, wisely, and you know what? That was just great by both of them, I thought.
Yes.
And you know what, Adam, I'm really happy for this team. Happy with how high they got in the constructors standings today too.
Yes.
Which is great. And the amount of money that's probably going to come with it. I think on the race broadcaster is saying it's probably about $50 million that they're probably going to, if they finish where they're at, that's a $50 million swing for them. That's huge. That's going to be massive for their program next year. It could be massive for their finishing off their program this year as well and getting them set up better for next season and into 2026. So, I mean, the fact that these two guys and team performed as well as they did, Adam, a performance like this can really set them up for next year, but something like this could set them up for 2026 really properly.
Well, that $50 million, Tim, could pay for the salaries probably this year and next year in terms of the drivers. I don't know what they're paying Jack Doohan, but I can't imagine it's huge.
Wouldn't be much, but you can put that money towards what you're spending this season, or you can just put that towards what you're going to spend next season, or you can save that up and just throw a ton of money at the 2026 car. Yeah. Something that something that Sauber Audi is going to end up doing.
Yep.
But just to see where the team started this season. I mean, I remember hanging out, and I remember talking to you about this when I was in Bahrain, but just hanging out back of their garage, day 2 of testing, it's not going well. Everybody's down at the team. And I remember just overhearing the group saying, car's too fat, it's overweight, and if we lose a sticker here, we lose a sticker there, we're going to save some grams, and we may squeeze 100th of a second out of it. We may squeeze it. We may just squeeze 1/10 if we remove this sticker, this sticker, this sticker, this sticker. And I'm like, oh my God, it's that bad.
Yeah.
And then I remember talking to Esteban in Miami about it. He had a really great performance in Miami. So did the team. And I said to him, hey, look, is this a sign that you guys are back on the right track? And he's basically like, whoa, cool your jets. We still got a long way to go here. This car is really bad, but he's like, it's a step in the right direction. But just to see how well they've recovered in this championship is very, very impressive.
It's cool. And Tim, that is why we love Formula One.
Mm-hmm.
We love Formula One for stories like that, because any weekend rain throws it in, and all of a sudden the car that started the season as the worst car or second worst car on the grid. Let's not. Sauber's been pretty bad.
Yeah,
horrible, just horrible. Oh my God, unacceptably bad. We will talk about that at some point, not today, but there's a bad threshold, and they're well past it.
Hasn't been good.
But for Alpine to be able to strike in and do this, I just think what a great story, what an amazing story. Can't wait for Drive to Survive's episode on it. Can't wait. They're going to do it. It's going to happen. They're going to mention Monaco. They're going to mention the whole thing. Ocon going to Haas, new guy coming in, and then they're going to finish the story with this. You just know. I feel it's happening.
I think Gasly was interviewed by Drive to Survive this past weekend too.
No way.
I think it was it might have been Wednesday or Thursday. He had done a sit down with them. And so, I think that was, I think it was his turn this week to do interviews with them. And so, hey, maybe they're good luck, Adam.
Maybe they are. Maybe they are, Tim. Maybe they are. Now I want to look at the rest of the results here too, because I think, it's important not to lose.
Good drives. Yeah, good drives here.
Good drives. George Russell had a good drive, as you said. You think they threw away a win there?
I feel like Mercedes threw one away. I think George was pretty, George took it well. I thought his post-race press conference was really great. Didn't throw the team under the bus, was a team player, but I think George could have had a shot at winning this thing today on Sunday for sure. And I thought Charles Leclerc drove really, really well. The car
especially with Carlos out, right?
Oh yeah,
that's hard.
It is, and Ferrari really wants to win this Constructors' Championship, and I believe that they can. And I thought that Leclerc really showed up in this race. He did not put a wheel wrong. I don't remember one mistake that he made, and someone can correct me in the comments if they saw it. There was a lot going on, but I do not remember him making one mistake. throughout the entire Grand Prix. I thought bringing it home and scoring some good points and not letting that Constructors' Championship lead start to get away between McLaren and Ferrari, because obviously McLaren had both drivers finish in the top 10, scoring points in the Constructors for their Constructors' Championship bid at McLaren. But I thought Charles Leclerc did really well to really just hang around and just try and pick up the pieces if any were to fall in front of him. And then we got to talk about the RBs, I think, Adam.
Yeah, that's where I was going next. Perfect. Yeah,
man.
Yuki in 7, Liam in 9.
So
wow,
good. Those guys were awesome. Rock stars today. The whole weekend. Qualifying, I don't know if you got up for it, but I was up at 5 a.m.
I watched it after. Because I have children, and so you sleep when they sleep.
Understood. Yeah, so I was up for it. I just couldn't believe the pace that Tsunoda and Lawson had, and they outqualified both Red Bulls, and I was like, what the hell is going on around here? Yeah. This is fantastic. Great drive from both of them. I mean, Yuki Tsunoda definitely just making that argument that, he should be taken seriously for that Red Bull Racing second seat.
Yes.
Especially today, Adam, I thought.
Yep, I agree. I just don't think Christian's going for it. I think that's a hard no. It's weird. We'll see what happens though, Tim. He keeps racing like this. They're gonna get desperate there for that second seat.
Yeah, same with Liam Lawson as well.
Oh
man,
absolutely, man. You know what I like about Liam Lawson? He's making all these mistakes, right? He's pissing off Alonso and he's pissing off Perez and whatever. Name me a young world championship driver that didn't come in and piss everybody off. Fernando did it. Lewis did it. Sebastian did it. Max did it.
Yeah. 100%.
And Michael did it, and Ayrton did it, and they all piss a lot of people off, because winners tend to not make a ton of friends, especially in this sport, right? So
that's very true.
I don't know, man. I like this kid a lot. He's really fun to watch, and Yuki's a really good driver, man. He's good in all conditions. I find some of the guys from different backgrounds, it's interesting, because you grow up with different cultural and different weather patterns. And I find it's interesting, seeing who's good in the wet and who isn't. Mm-hmm. British drivers tend to be really good in the wet. Kind of have to be, right? Yep. I think in Japan, I think Yuki's put on good performances in the wet in Japan, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves. So he's a wet weather guy. He's really good at it. One thing I want to mention too, Tim, is Oliver Bearman, who had such a great sprint drive. Forget today's drive, because it wasn't great. Not a great day for Haas, but his drive filling in for Kevin Magnussen for the sprint was the qualifying was great and the drive was great.
I mean, made a lot of rookie mistakes, and
sure,
that's going to happen, and those were difficult conditions to just be thrown into. And everyone's probably going to say to me oh yeah, well, he's had time in the simulator and he's had time in the car and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nah, he really hasn't had that much time. He hasn't. So that's a fact. You don't really understand a car, Adam. If you've done 200 laps in it, you still don't really understand it. You don't get a grasp of what does it like? What doesn't it like? What can I do with it? What can't I do with it? Where is the limit? What does the limit of this car feel like? What does it feel like when it's getting to that limit? And in the wet, it's just a whole different scenario. It's just a whole new thing you're learning. And so I thought he did really well with the circumstances he was put into. I thought he qualified really well, very strong. I thought he had a good sprint weekend. And you know what? The Grand Prix just got away from him in some points, right? Just little lapses of concentration here and there, tiny little mistakes costed him here, there, and there. And those are things that a rookie's going to get learn, and he's going to come back stronger from this.
Yep.
And I think it was good that he's getting these things out of the way now, because by the time next year rolls around, he's going to have a lot more experience under his belt. Really think there's a good driver in there, Adam. I really do. He's very smooth. And that's one of the things that when I look at a driver and their driving style, he is very smooth with the car. And it's almost reminds me of Jenson Button. Jenson Button was very smooth with the race car. he was naturally smooth. And so like I kind of like see that in Oliver Bearman as well with his driving style. So takes time. I think for him, it was a good weekend. I think there were a lot of positives to take away from it, but I think there are some points he may have left on the table.
Right. I 100% agree with that, Tim. And that's what you're going to get with a rookie driver.
Yeah.
And that's why Haas has a very good veteran driver, a very fast. I think Esteban Ocon at this point believes that he should be with one of the top teams and that he's been overlooked. I think next year is going to be a real test for him. If he goes and he kicks ass with that Haas, he might just be. And I wonder if that second seat in Red Bull is not figured out next season, like long term. He sure makes a lot of sense there, doesn't he?
Yeah, but I also think, Adam, with Toyota, like really, I mean, obviously Toyota's with them right now, but Toyota's
really
not, Toyota's really not all in just yet in terms of that technical partnership that they are going to be having, right? Like Toyota hasn't developed any parts for the car yet or anything like that. So I think once Toyota starts to get more involved, especially on that side, because they have the infrastructure for it, they also have like incredible engineers at Toyota. And I think that's going to just help the team either stay where they're at from this season, or it may help them just level up that extra little bit. And I think like driver like Esteban Ocon is really he's going to get a lot from this. I can see why now he decided to go there. Like I found out, like, I want to say it was Monaco that he had been talking with Haas. And like now he's starting to piece it all together of why he was talking with Haas. I think this is a really smart move for him. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, especially the way they performed this year too. Seems like he can do a lot with that car.
Yeah.
And they've got a future. This Toyota partnership is going to be great for them, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's nice to see Toyota back in the sport too. I think that needed to happen a long time ago.
Great.
So there was a place I wanted to go next, and I've just lost my. I got it. Okay, so post race, Tim. This part is not standing out enough. I think the comments about what Lando said about Max and himself after the race, he said, no, it doesn't come down to talent. It comes down to luck today. You know, there's a lot of people reacting negatively to that. To me, it's whatever. So whatever quote. If that's what Lando believes, I could see the justifiable argument for it. I think Max was pretty spectacular today.
Oh,
end of story.
No, I mean, like, look, I might agree with you. I think, obviously Lando's like, he's upset. And we all know why. He doesn't believe
there's a huge talent differential there. He has to believe that. He has to believe that.
Hey, I mean, look, as a driver, you always think you're better than everybody else. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter. You always, and I expect that.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
The only thing from his post-race presser that really, really like got to me, even though some people feel that he really stepped in it by saying, the luck stuff, was the fact that there shouldn't have been a red flag. Because he had said that. And I was just like, like, no. Like, there needed to be a red flag. I mean, Franco Colapinto's car was scattered across the entire frickin' racetrack.
Yeah.
And how is there not going to be a red flag on that? Now, again, he's probably just speaking heat of the moment type stuff, right?
Yep.
Like, and look, I get it, but there needed to be a red flag.
Yep.
Like,
yep. Now,
it would have affected, like, even if they didn't throw a red flag at him, any one of those drivers, including Lando Norris, could have easily picked up a puncture with all the carbon fiber crap that was scattered across the track.
I agree.
Easily, in a second, and that would have ended their race. So if Lando picks up a puncture, ends his race, he would have been complaining about why wasn't there a red flag.
Yep.
The officials did the right thing. They did.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now, the press conference no one's talking about is Fernando Alonso.
Oh,
in tears, Tim.
Man.
In tears, he's so frustrated. Fernando's an emotional guy, but in tears, frustrated with this car. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason they spent £100 million on Adrian Newey. They need to fix this. They need to fix this quick because this guy's still driving well. And, I know Lance had his spin out as well. Conditions were tough today. When I see Alpine do what they did, all of a sudden, Alpine's only 30 points behind Aston Martin. 35 points if you want to get technical. And it's 3 races left.
Yeah.
And that means, Tim, it's not they need to do that in one race. It's can we get 10-ish points a race and maybe have another miracle and challenge their spot in the constructors. Challenge it. Get close.
Look how many spots Alpine made up today.
Yeah, 3 spots. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It was a crazy run.
And so it's possible because we've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Aston Martin holds on to this P5, but I think they just hold on to it. But I still feel that they're going to need a point scoring race at some point over these next 3 races that are left to hold on to it. I really do. I think they're going to need points in either Vegas, Qatar, or Abu Dhabi, one or the other. And just hope that like Alpine continues with the inconsistencies with, when it's dry, sometimes they're just creeping on P10, sometimes they're P18, P17, and all that kind of stuff, right? Like I think that's the storyline sort of moving forward.
And the next 3 racetracks are in deserts, so it's not likely to rain.
Yeah, but I mean, like it just, oh man, for Aston Martin, just still like 9th slowest team. Like look at what the drivers were doing in qualifying with the car. Like I said this back in Mexico, you're now really seeing it.
That's a bad car, dude. It
is a horrible car. I don't know when people are going to start listening to me on this, but like it's unfortunate how bad it is. It shows you how good the drivers are because both of them able to extract performance from it today in the race. Lance's formation lap. I mean, there was a mechanical issue with the brake migration, sent it all the way to the rear, and he's gone. So that's his race over with. And then for Fernando, I mean, a guy could barely get out of the car at the end of it, like because it was bouncing so much with this new pavement that was there, and all that stuff goes. People may not know, but it goes right through your spine.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have spine issues from motorsports. From racing formula cars.
Really?
Yeah. So so I've got really bad spine issues because of it. It's because you're getting everything that's coming up through your butt, it's going up through your spine and then to the top of your head, right? And so the more the car jumps up and down or bounces, it really friggin' hurts. And so for Fernando, like he suffered through that race today, really did. Like gutted it out just for the crew, just so he could finish it off because of the amount of work that team put into getting those cars ready after the incidents from both drivers in qualifying, getting the car ready for the race. I mean, that's a big job, and hats off to Fernando for suffering through that and bringing that thing home. Like it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Wow, Tim.
Yeah.
Wow. That really puts it in perspective too, right? Like
for sure.
It is. And I just want to quickly do a touch point on Williams Day. I'm not going to mention Sauber. It's just we'll talk about them at the end of the season, I think, because they're bad. And what else is there to say? Not an ideal day for them. Alex Albon was having a great qualifier, and like really, really strong.
Yeah,
and it just sucks to see that happen. As a driver, as a team. Do you ever feel like, shit, this season we just have bad luck and that's what it is?
Yeah.
Because I think Williams is better than this.
Yeah. I agree.
And Franco's been great. Franco spun out. Yeah. Shit happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Rookie mistake.
Exactly. And hey, they don't have a rookie in the lineup next year.
No, they got to have 2 really solid drivers. Not saying Franco Colapinto's not solid. He is very solid.
Solid and proven.
Yeah. Just rookie mistakes, man. Like it's just when was Franco racing this Williams in the wet? Like there's things you learn, right? These are just things that a driver learns. And so I felt really bad for the team in general, just because try to get Alex's car put back together in time. And the amount of work that they tried to put in to get that thing going and just couldn't. I mean, that really sucks. For Alex, he felt that there was a brake issue again with the brake migration stuff. Yep. Not only Albon, who it ended with a heavy shunt, Norris going off. You had both Alonso and Stroll suffering from it as well. And I'm not too sure why that is from all these different drivers and all these different teams. What's causing all that? But yeah, for Albon, that's the reason why he went off into the wall. That was a heavy crash. And for Colapinto, like I said, rookie mistake. Man, Adam, like, if Albon hadn't a crash, dude, like...
Yeah. What a different race we'd be talking about, man. Like, it would have changed everything.
He could have finished on the podium. There probably would have been, like, a chance there.
Yeah.
If you're James Vowles, that's got to be like really frustrating. Like,
yeah.
Just think about that. How much work that guy's put in. I mean, he's been on here before. I've talked to him hundreds of times. It's like, that's got to be devastating. Like, it just does. Like,
yeah. And yet he continues to maintain a pretty good sense of humor about things. I do really respect that about James. Is like, even saw him in the interviews with Sky Sports, and obviously this was before any of the bad stuff had happened. But I did really feel like, okay, he's despite everything that's been thrown at them, the driver change and the not having the tubs and systems migrating and old equipment and all the things that were going against Williams, this man pushes them forward. I think he's a great team principal. Yeah. I really do. Yeah. And I'm sure he's heartbroken, but I also feel like he will get up tomorrow and be like, let's get back to it. So anyway,
Adam, we have quite a few questions.
Let's go.
Which is great.
Any questions? Listen, if we've answered them, we may not call it your name as much.
Good point. Andy actually asks a really good one. He says, did the free tire change on the red flag, make an impact on the results, or would Max have still won with one more pit stop, recognizing he'd have to get through traffic in the midst and not just by Ocon himself?
Right.
I
don't know the answer to that.
You know what? I don't think he would have won. Like, if there was, let's just say there wasn't a red flag, or let's say during the red flag you couldn't do like basically a free pit stop. You couldn't change tires. Let's just say that. I don't think Max wins.
Right.
Do I think he scores good points? Absolutely.
Yeah,
he does. But I don't think he comes away with a race victory. Here's one for you, Adam, from Lewis. How do you think the team orders at McLaren are affecting the drivers' relationship?
I mean, I haven't heard anything bad. I think that everybody's pretty clear on who has the chance to win and who doesn't. But I think next year we're going to start to really see it. Next year, like I said earlier, Tim, it's jump ball. So that is going to create some awkward situations. And unless you have a confirmed first and a confirmed second, like Lewis and Valtteri, or, Max and Sergio, or Sebastian and Mark after year one, when they won the championship, or when Sebastian won his first and Mark was very close. I think Tim, that's a potentially combustible situation where those two guys may not be talking to each other next year. But that is dependent on the car being good and them being good at driving it. Yeah. So a lot of things have to happen before that relationship.
No, Adam, I think you seriously hit the nail on the head with that. Couldn't have said it better myself, actually. I really agree with what you said there, because it is a combustible relationship for sure.
Right.
Angie Gray, what are your thoughts with the range of time for each red flag? Wild race today. You know what? Like, they need to take the time that is required to not only clean up the mess, but also reset the tire barrier and make sure that everything's back to the way the track was homologated to. So it's sometimes that takes time to get that done. And today, it took a bit of time. So I don't have a problem with how long red flags are, as long as things are put back to the way they're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And also on top of that, like, they get back to racing in a safe manner, right? You don't want to like race through a red flag situation just to get drivers back out on the track and racing each other.
Right.
Pontus Hollenberg's Goldfish? Chris in the
Pontus Holmberg's Goldfish, I guess.
What?
Is clearly a hockey fan.
Okay. You're gonna have to explain that one day.
Yeah, I don't even know if I get it. I guess the guy's got a goldfish. I have no idea.
How lucky have you been in your career? Not a lot. I'll say that.
Tim, tell us why.
Just stuff happens, man. It's racing, and like you're not always like you don't always have that golden horseshoe up your butt. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Ron, what's wrong with Lando? That's just not championship level talent. And is Max actually from this planet? I can answer the first part if you want to answer. Or sorry, I can answer the second part if you want to answer the first part.
All I want to say, I want you to answer the whole thing, but I want to say this. I want you to say that. I want to just let me add my 2 cents before you get started, because you're gonna have the smarter answer.
Oh.
Championship level talent. Answer that question or ask the question one more time. That first part.
What's wrong with Lando? That's just not championship level talent.
I would disagree. I think championship level talent is there. You're talking about a driver who's developed to a championship level and a driver that hasn't.
Yeah.
Is the talent there? The talent's there. I don't think anybody, unless you're Christian Horner right now and you're feeling yourself, would say Lando Norris can't win a world championship one day. But Max is more developed, and he is a multi-time champion, and he's better right now. Mm-hmm. Is that fair?
Yep.
It's not talent, it's development of the talent.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think everything you said there, Adam, is pretty much, you hit the nail on the head again. I think when it comes to driver development, very seldom do you ever see younger drivers who haven't been well seasoned or have a lot of experience just come right out and challenge for championships.
Yep.
And there's so many things that has to go your way. One, you need to arrive in a very competitive car. Lando's never arrived in a very competitive car until the last year and a half.
And even then, Tim, was McLaren good to start the year?
No. I mean,
exactly.
I remember 2022 at the start of that. I thought they were going to finish dead last in that championship. They were so bad.
Yeah.
Like they were taping parts onto their car during testings. Stuff was falling off of it.
Yeah.
So very seldomly does a driver just arrive in a great car and it's ready to win and challenge for a championship. I mean, that doesn't really ever happen at all. Max never arrived in a car that was going to win. He arrived in a Toro Rosso and he crashed into pretty much everything he saw. But at the end of the day, look at what he's doing now. The steps that Max took to get to where he is now and what he's doing now. I mean, it took time, right? These things just take time. So, yeah, I think Lando is a championship caliber driver. And I just think these things do just take time. That's all. I'll answer, I'll do 2 more and then we'll get out of here. Austin Forrest. In other sports, they have the rest versus rust argument. In racing, would teams prefer to keep momentum going, keep racing, or have breaks and get some rest from the season? In my experience, Adam, I would say that, the rest is probably really well needed. 3, a triple header.
Oh yeah,
is it's grueling. Grueling. I felt so bad for everyone who works in Formula One, everyone who works for the teams, drivers, everyone in the media, everyone who works at the hospitalities, and has been on the road for the last 3 weeks away from their families. And this was a very difficult weekend for everybody to finish on because of the weather, the hours that everybody's working. I mean, Adam, people were getting up at 3:30 in the morning to get to the track so they could get the cars ready for a 7:30 a.m. quali. That's really hard, man, when you're coming off of 14 days of competition in other parts of the world, and then you're just finishing it off with this really, really difficult end to this triple header. and shout out to all the fans, like who
Yeah.
came out like in that weather and all that. I mean, like honestly, the fans were awesome. But yeah, you know, these teams really worked hard this weekend, and yeah, you know, chapeau, because that was a tough triple header for sure.
No kidding.
Last one from J Money. What exactly happened with the abandoned start? And do you expect any fallout from what happened? Okay, very good question.
Yeah.
So, at the start, when Lando, basically, Lance had gone off, the yellow flags had came out, the formation lap was aborted. So there were signs saying that, you know, formation lap aborted. Norris thought that he had to like go around again to sort of get this thing recycled and restarted. And so that was one of his reasons why he had left. George Russell basically did the same thing because he was thinking the same thing. So both drivers were fined 5,000 euros and were given a reprimand for that aborted start. So there was a whole thing with it. But the drivers that followed,
Yeah.
they were just basically given a no further action. That's basically what happened to them because they were just following what Lando and George were doing. And so I think like 5,000 euro fine is, you know, that is a good penalty to hand out. I don't think it really required anything more than that because honestly, if I'm in the car, I probably would have done the same thing. Like I would have been thinking the same thing that Lando's thinking. But one of the things that really impressed me the most, again, is Max Verstappen. Because during that time, I was with his onboard camera, and he literally said over the radio, "Why is everybody leaving?" He's like, "You're not allowed to leave." He knows the rules, man.
Yeah.
Inside and out.
That's how you win, though, man. It's that little bit of edge, right? It's
everybody
crazy.
had gone at him. Everyone had left. He was the only one that was left on the grid, being like, "WTF? Like, what is everybody doing? You can't do that. This is against the rules." Like, he was telling the team, like, this guy's playing chess, man. Everyone else is playing checkers. He's incredible. Like, unreal.
I love how amped you are. that's true respect,
Man.
right?
Honestly, dude, the rule book is like thicker than that.
Oh, I bet.
Like
I
rules,
bet
like
I bet it's
racing.
dry too.
Like just on track racing. This is just like the racing rules. Like we'll just say it's like this.
Oh God.
But he knows that, like inside and out, man. Where does he keep all the information? I couldn't do it.
World champion. And yes, I think you could. If that was your whole life, Tim, that was your whole life.
Yeah, I probably
If
could.
it's your whole life, you better know that.
Yeah.
And my question to the other drivers is, why don't you? You know what I mean? Like, that's probably, you know, like if that is literally like, think about how single-minded that man's life must be, right? He's not worried about paying his electricity bill. Not worried about getting to the gym. He's not even worried about who's driving him somewhere. He's got all that stuff. All he has to do is focus on that one thing. You better know it.
But even comes down to like, Adam, like even I know we got to get out of here, but like even comes down, Adam, to like, you know, even when he's racing somebody and just knows where the gray area is, like while he's racing somebody.
Yeah, dude, it's amazing, and full marks to Max Verstappen. You just got to give it to him.
Man.
Got to give him his flowers.
100%.
Unbelievable race today.
100%.
So Vegas in a few weeks here, and Tim, I'm excited for it. And you are heading down.
I will be there.
So November 24th.
It's going to be a good one. Last year's event, Adam, was awesome. Like you know, one day you should go. I encourage everyone else to go and check it out because it is worth it. It is a lot of fun. Looking forward to it.
Well, Tim, we're looking forward to seeing you later this week on Thursday. So we will talk to you then.
buddy.
Have a great night, okay?
See you, buddy.